as a big compliment. Yeah, mm, you know, a lot of people have imitated. I'm probably hated and over England for it. Oh, another serial into American. That's all we got. That's
Detroit or
boring day in, where were we yesterday? Chicago. We missed our flight. Yeah,
I love it.
sexy. Yeah, I mean, the plane is so smooth and kind of breathless. It has to do with the fact that I didn't know what I was thinking. I've never read it. Well, yeah. Oh, my, yeah, like my color and stuff. Um, oh, yeah. I never get finished. I thought the New York what? Really? You know, it might have been because when I got the Caldecott, I got sometimes I did, not always, not in those cases. So I guess I was a girl in somewhere in Argentina that was of people. Yeah. yeah. I don't.
Good evening. I'm so happy you're all here. I love this book and I love David's work. I don't always get to say that before I give an introduction. Not that I don't love all the authors I bring into Pratt. This is special for me. So I'm so happy that so many people are here. And I'm happy David's here. So David's going to speak for about 30 minutes and then have time for your questions. And then he's going to sign your books. The Pratt Library purchased all these books, and they're yours. We purchased the books from Atomic Books. So if you're familiar, if you're not familiar, check it out. Want to also let everyone know that our May programs, the tickets for our May programs, become available this Monday at noon. So if you're interested in what we have to offer, which is like a lot this spring, check out our website. And again, all of our programs are free. And I'm Cleve Porter. I'm here for all speaker engagement. Tonight, I'm happy to welcome David Small to the Pratt Library to discuss his new book, The Werewolf at Dusk and Other Stories. In it, he turns his attention to the twilight of life and to aging, gracefully or otherwise. Eerily striking and mesmerizing, the three stories in this collection are linked by the dread of things internal. From an impotent werewolf facing the terror of obsolescence to the reality or wanderings of an aging psychoanalyst, in the ominous environs of Berlin in the 1920s and a reinterpretation of Jean Ferret's The Tiger in Vogue. The Werewolf at Dusk is a testament to the singular dark genius of David Small. David Small is the author of numerous books, including the New York Times bestselling Stitches, which if you haven't read, please read. It's one of my favorite memoirs. He's a recipient of the Caldecott Medal, the Christopher Medal, and the E.D. White Award. Publishers Weekly called the book an evocative, sure-handed triptych of short stories that showcase David Small's talent to conjure foreboding. The Library Journal commented that Small's fluid line work and exceptional vision of storytelling result in a compelling, deeply effective collection. And in Kirkus' starred review of The Werewolf at Dusk, they wrote, Small's line work is striking in its expressiveness and energy, figures and forms leaping across the page, while eyes and lips simmer with emotion. Broad patches and layers of color imbue the illustrations with a gorgeous painterly quality, surreal and searing. It is my great pleasure to welcome
Very nice. Thank you. Very, very nice. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you here. Can you hear me? I just talk like this. I have a weird voice. It's always been weird, but it's weirder now. The result of a sort of botched surgery on my vocal cord. But this is my voice. I want to begin tonight. Just Sean, I don't want to show this until later. Let's just have the cover of the book. Am I going to do that? That's all right. I'm going to tell you a little bit to begin with about the genesis of this book. Let's just back it up to the cover, and I'm going to read this, and then I'll go through it again. Yeah. I think I was in grad school when I first found this collection of surrealist stories, and went through the whole thing until I discovered that I really disliked surrealist stories. I liked some of the imagery a lot, that kind of marriage between whatever it was, a wine glass and a sewing machine on an operating table, that kind of subconscious sewing things together. That's always fun. But the problem is with automatic writing, which is what surrealist writing was called, dubbed, the official writing style of surrealism by Andre Breton, the dictator of that movement. It's incomprehensible. It doesn't have beginning, middle, end. There's no traditional structure to automatic writing. It's kind of fun in a way, but doesn't add up to much, and it doesn't stick with you. But there were two stories in this collection that really did stick with me. One was a story called, the title of it then was The Fashionable Tiger. It was sort of a bad translation of a really fascinating story by a man named Jean Ferry, who is long dead now, but he was sort of known in France for a little while, mainly for his screenplays. He actually worked with Louis Buñuel on a couple of projects, and some other really well-known. He worked on the screenplay for Children of Paradise. I don't know if you know that fantastic film, which was filmed in Paris during the Nazi occupation there. But anyway, Ferry was a good person in the background, and he also wrote some short stories, and among them, most of them were automatic writing, but among them was this one called, in that translation, The Fashionable Tiger. And that story has stuck with me for so long. So it was really fun to finally get a chance to illustrate that. The other story was by Leonore Carrington. Has anybody ever heard of her? My wife and one other person. Leonore Carrington was a surrealist painter, English, ended up living in Mexico for most of her life, which is where Sarah and I first saw her work, filled with creepy crawly characters. And we even bought one of her drawings. But she's not very well known, obviously, up here. Until recently, I think it was last year's Venice Biennale, was named after one of her books, a book she wrote for children called The Milk of Dreams. And last year's Biennale was totally feminist, right? It was all women artists. So The Milk of Dreams was a perfect title for it. I don't know if it improved Carrington's reputation in America, but I did hear somewhere that one of her paintings recently sold in New York for about $20,000. Maybe that accounts for the following. my agent called up the Carrington estate and asked permission for me to illustrate this book. The answer came back, yes, go find a publisher immediately, which we did. And I spent a year illustrating it. At the end of that year came this message from my terribly disappointing agent. It's all right. I said, well, was it my art? No. The Carrington estate is just preparation. If you're a writer and you have to get this kind of permission from the Carrington estate decided they didn't want you to illustrate it or publish it. The Carrington estate consisted of two brothers who hadn't talked to each other for more than 10 years. And the one had thought it was a good idea and also thought my art was terrific. And the other one said, no, only mother could illustrate one story. Well, mother had been dead for a while. And I think the fact is that around the time that he began, that painting sold for quite a bit of money. And New York, is desperate to find new female artists, and who knows? Maybe there is big money in their future. Maybe their ship will come in. But in the meantime, my year illustrating that story was kind of dream, which really, really got to me for about 2 months. I was really in despair. And then one day, while scrolling through the internet, I came across this really remarkable story called, that's what it was called, Moving Aches by Lincoln Michel. And I was just blown away. I thought, this is really and horror, right? I said, he knows everybody. And I said, ever hear of Lincoln Michel? He said, yeah, he spoke to my class. You can be in touch with him. Well, of course, you love him. And I did love him. And he was so accommodating and just immediately said, yes, go ahead. He said, well, I'm very school advanced for this. Like, you do too much. He said, I don't care. Just know your work. So that's how this came about. It took about 40 years. And well, and I'm very proud. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to give you the full, the full experience of the illustrator. First of all, is a text, no pictures, and so I'm going to read to you the text of Lincoln's story, which, by the way, Moon Aches was its original story title, but my editor at Live Right, Bob Wild, he didn't want to call it that. He said, I think the title of the book should have Werewolf in it. And, commercial decision. And so Lincoln and I worked on a new title for a couple of weeks, and he came up with The Werewolf at Dusk, which, as you'll see, is perfect, very strange little story. All right, now what do I do here? I go. No, I'm not going to show you pictures. I'm going to read to you. So you guys can just close your eyes and imagine how you might illustrate, or everybody sees pictures in their minds, I think. And then I'll show you what I did. Here we go. I used to wake up in strange places, park benches in unfamiliar cities, orange groves among the fallen globes, suburban backyards, motel parking lots, and dark woods. I'd be covered in blood but still alive. That was a long time ago. Now, when the moon takes over the sky, I'm lucky if I can overtake an injured squirrel or stumble across a tire-flattened cat. He hasn't even said what he is or why this condition is upon him. This is good writing. I managed to hobble home, shower off the blood, put on a clean pair of jeans and a fresh sweater, and head out again. A dog walker passes me, a half dozen mutts barking and straining at their leashes. I used to have that kind of power. Now it takes me a half an hour to get to the store. Sleeping on the playground slide has made me stooped over like a question mark. My knee is inflamed. My hip aches. A small child, barely a snack, has to help me across the street. Are we getting the idea that this old man is a beast in some ways? I always feared the moon, ever since I got lost on a family camping trip and heard the howl. The reason for that fear has changed. It used to mean that I'd hurt other people. Now it means I hurt myself. What do I even look like now when the full moon draws out the wolf inside of me? Mangy gray fur and wrinkled skin that clings to my skeleton like a dirty towel. Liver spots on my hairless belly, cracks in my calcium deficient claws. Once I was a monster. Now I'm more a waif than a wolf. Finally, I make it to the local pharmacy. They, they sell Luna bars, moon pies, my monthly nightmare repackaged as tasty treats. My trembling hand drops the items on the counter. Advil, Pepto-Bismol, Bengay, Band-Aid, ice pack, e-brace. Ah, looks like Grandpa's having a party tonight, the cashier says. Don't get too crazy with this stuff. Ha ha. He has a fresh, round face. Just the right amount of people to be. Funny and wicked. When I was younger, I was hidden in the closet. I was full of life back then. It was like a wide open field. Whoops, this is transformed into tired old talk, alone and unloved. Yeah, I've never met uh, anyone who showed illustrations. We looked at I used to make up in strange places. Orange groves, motel parking lots. That was a long time ago. Now, it's over the sky. Oh, I left out the text. And wake up and be alive. That was a long time. Now, when the moon takes over the sky, I'm lucky if I can overtake an engine or stumble across most mornings I wake up stomach crushing flowers in community gardens. Today it's a school play. Shaking. Don't make me haul you downtown. I'm going to go home and sober up. My body used to have that power. Oh, things are a little. Now it takes me a half an hour. Sleeping in the playground has left me, the playground slide has left me over like a question mark. My knees inflamed, my hip aches. Small child, barely a snack. As they walk across the street. I always feared the moon. Ever since I've lost a family camping trip and heard the howl. The reason for that fear has changed. It used to mean I'd heard other people tell me that really even look like them. Full moon mangy gray fur. Dirty animal. Never stops on my earless belly. Cracks in my calcium deficient claws. Once I was finally, I make it to the local pharmacy. In the bars, weeping patients, drops the items on the counter. Advil, small, Bengay, Band-Aids, Brace. Looks like Grandpa's having a party tonight. The cashier says, "Don't get crazy." Just the right amount of marketing. When I was younger, I would have hidden in the park. I was full of life back then. My whole life ahead of me. Perhaps this was the ultimate tired old dog, alone, unloved, looking into the sky. Yeah, watching some American Werewolf in Paris to get this transformation to this is my apartment in college. And that's it. Good. Thank you. So that's the first story in this trilogy. And just to tell you a bit about this, the other two, I'm going to read from a really good review in something called uh, what was it? Lit Weekly. Now I can hardly tell what everything is morbid. Is the name of the New City. But I love the writing by this guy Brendan. It's just part of it. He says he talks a little bit about the werewolf story. Humorous, territory is walking the old city. Small's original contribution to the collection. During the eponymous walk, our elderly psychiatrist narrator gets lost and nearly steps in a canal. These alleys. Crossing a bridge full of giant spiders, the psychiatrist starts employing dream analysis to explain the clearly fantastic situation, describing their presence of the spiders as symbolic of some unknown anxiety. The old man mocks this analysis response, enthusiastically explaining that the spiders are real and that he regularly feeds. It appears to attract Small in both the stories he chose to adapt, as well as his own contribution. It's best summed up by Jean Ferry's That's the title I gave my translation from the French. The image of a live tiger brought on stage, dressed in fine garments, trained to act as a fine gentleman, is an absurd image. Phil's one who given the news. The old werewolf doesn't leave the place across the street. inevitability. Past it. Eventually, be consumed by magic. One of the additions that Small has made to the Jean Ferry story is a wordless scene where the disgusted theater patron walks home from the way, sees soldiers beating cats. But today it's not enough time under the boot. And the aging world, perhaps this is what we all transform into whether it's fascism unchecked, as in the Tiger story, it's the promise of the unavoidable for what lies in our path. That's a very good sentence. Come up with that one. So, if you like, if you haven't, and we can talk about anything. New York gossip. My text. Sure. No, I do. I wouldn't blame anybody, a reader or anyone else, if they don't see a connection. But just what you just said, the first book was very personal about my childhood. The second one wasn't my actual experience, but based very closely on that of a friend of mine, now passed away, and into whose life I overlaid my own experiences to a certain extent. So then we have a big skip from, skipping over middle age into old age, which I feel I've stepped into the vestibule of. Yeah, I see. I just, Stitches, my memoir was so intensely personal. I spent so long on it. It was agonizing in so many ways, and exhilarating. But just, old age has suddenly befallen me to a certain extent. I'm 79, but and I can't see it with the clarity that I could see my childhood. Good answer. Very good. Thanks. Yeah. Um, the I think the decision to make all the animals where red was was something that just um, at stage. Yeah. By the way, I worked. I did countless books in the old animals. In the last four books I've done, um, recommend to anybody before 4 years of age. And 54. Um, it's a wonderful program, but I approached the art making just the way I always have with the fusion. I usually would start a review in the old days, before you were born, probably. Blue was preferred by an underdrawing was preferred by artists and art directors because it didn't photograph in the old world. So I always start my blue, and then I don't know where the red came from. It was an incident, but I like to see editorial correct the story. Um, the city is so monochromatic. It's for the transcript of the news. And the tiger, although I was reluctant to do, I loved compliment. I didn't really want to do full color, but the setting, the music hall with all the acts that precede it, I don't know, color seems to move in that story too. Very well. He described the woman who's the tamer. She was wearing. So, and also the addition of color on appropriate. It's pretty easy to make changes really fast, which is one of the things that is attractive. I don't have my blue barrel drawings where I've splashed them on, matter of ink anymore. That happens in Procreate. Yeah, so I kind of like the sequence. Minimal color. Or maybe, don't go there. Unless you have, uh, you know, I had no choice. I held down. I mean, walked out of so many jobs. And tried so many things. Just wasn't. It's a total loss. So many of my teachers, but a lot of giggles and familiarity. Yeah, but if you know, it's not a hard choice to make for a real artist. A real musician, it's just something in you. It's come out that way. Everybody's clumsy to begin with. Everybody sees some ways. Uh, but I'm thinking that becomes really, you need more practice. By the way, I'm sorry, the story is called The Debutante.
Yeah,
But
that's.
is it, did you think about that? Did you know that story?
I was just wondering if you like had already had the visuals sort of sketched out or like ideas that you wanted to add, or and also kind of I think it's also interesting that given that she's a painter, like would that have also influenced how you approach visuals?
I fully illustrated that story. It's too bad in a way that it will never be seen in print, probably. But on the other hand, I had chosen a style that to me fit the story, but was so different from all the other things in the book. Sort of a child, even really, what I've done over 50 children's books, and I illustrated that story, The Debutante, like a children's book illustrator. It's whimsical, it's colorful, and yet the story is simply dreadful. Has anybody read The Debutante? Do you know that one? It's about this young lady whose mother is home preparing for her debutante, or for her, coming out into society that night. And the girl is so upset that she leaves home and she goes to the zoo to confer with her best friend, who is a hyena, who she's taught French, and the hyena's teaching her how to speak its language. And the girl's, moaning and groaning about having to do her debutante ball tonight. And the hyena says, "Take me, I'll go in your place." And they do that. She goes home with the hyena, and they dress it up in the dress that the girl's going to wear to the party. And they put gloves on to hide the, hairy arms. The only problem is the face. And the hyena says, "You have a maid, don't you?" Girl says, "Yes." She says, "Get her up here. I'll, I'll take care of it." They invite the maid up to the room. The girl, the hyena kills her and eats everything except, I think, the hands and the face, which she wears like a mask to the party. And that's sort of the end of the story. Oh, the mother recognizes that this is not her daughter. And that's sort of the end. That's where this surreal story ends. I gave it a little added ending, graphically, no dialogue. The mother bursts into the room and says, "What's that monster that you sent down to the party?" And the girl just jumps out the window, runs across the night lawn, and meets the hyena and melds with her and becomes a hyena, like a werewolf. This is before I even knew Lincoln Michel's story. So that's the one that you'll never see, but I'm really happy. I'm really so much happier with this one. I'd love to do The Debutante as a book. I think I'd even love redrawing it. I don't know. Anyway, anything else? Yeah.
Stylistically, I was wondering in the last one you were talking about how you would use color, but also I noticed that is there a little Toulouse-Lautrec in the woman in this particular book? I'm looking up the board.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Vibes from that,
From the tiger, the tamer.
Yeah.
I have no doubt there's Lautrec, there's Egon Schiele, there's Daumier, there's even Dürer, somewhere behind everything. These were just a fraction of the influences that I had sweep over me when I was in college. I think I was like 24 at Yale at the art school, and I thought I was I thought I was Egon Schiele reborn. I looked a little like him then, at least my body did, and he sort of I responded very positively to his kind of dark sexual art. I wasn't in great health and all the people, all those girls in his, and the men in his portraits of them, they all had TB, you know, this was back in the turn of the century, and everybody had tuberculosis. He died of it. So those skinny people in those postures were, you know, appealed to me. Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to have influences. You know, you're going to have them whether you think you want them or not. And I just say, eat them up. You know, one day everything will fuse into you, something that looks more like you. Yeah. One more.
Do you use models? Because it looks to me like you're the protagonist in the third story. He looks a lot like you.
Oh, Hitler?
No, no, protagonist.
Oh, the protagonist.
Yes, you look a little.
No, you know who that is? Has anybody ever read Tobin Anderson? T.A. Anderson. He's a great middle grade writer. He wrote a fantastic book called Feed. M.T. Anderson, Tobin. He was a friend of mine for a while. And when I was first thinking of doing that, I drew his face. Yeah. So but maybe that's why we were friends, because we looked a little like each other, you know. Maybe that's why we broke up too. No, I don't generally. Well, you know, if I need a hyena, that's what computers are for, and libraries. You know, I have so many art books and so many photography books. I just have, my whole studio has got shelves that are just crammed with these things. I hardly use them anymore, but they were my source for animals, for human. I have so many books on anatomy, which I studied assiduously for years, actually. You know, travel books for landscapes and so on. I think the books on street photography are the ones that have always helped me the most, because you get people frozen in really interesting attitudes, and also cityscapes.
Is there any special city that you've chosen for the city that you have in here?
In the first story? Oh,
Your story.
in my story, yes, actually, Oporto, London. That's more of a map of that map that looks like a squashed piece of tripe. That's the old city in London, where all those neighborhoods have grown together. But in Walk in the City, that's Oporto, Portugal, very much. We were there for a little while. Just burned itself into my brain. Thank you so much for coming.
Small, you'll have books, come get them signed. David's going to be sitting up.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I've got my pen. Oh, you know what I'd love? Like a piece of paper